Good morning. It is Friday. And it's time to talk Disney again. Although, I'm going to be honest, today we're not going to actually talk much about Disney. What I want to talk about today is getting to Disney. Now, obviously, your flights are a big part of booking your holiday. You know, if you can't get to Orlando, then, well, you can't be in Orlando. And if you can't be in Orlando, then you're going to really struggle to commute to Disney every day. So, today I want to talk about flights, and specifically, I'm going to target only a very small couple groups of you. So if you don't fall into one of these two groups and you're not interested in kind of hearing, there may be a few tips here that are going to assist everyone, but specifically I'm going to be targeting two groups because they're the groups that my wife and I fall into. So as anyone who watches the channel regularly may know, my wife is a double amputee. She is in a wheelchair full time. She can transfer, but she cannot walk. Myself, I'm just a big guy. I mean, you know, there's no other way to say it. I'm a big guy. Size 58, size 60 waist, 380 odd pounds. I'm a big guy. So, I want to specifically talk about flying from the UK to Orlando for a wheelchair user and a big guy. You would not believe how difficult that makes it to get a flight. First off, wheelchair users who need a transfer seat. Now, it's not getting it too technical, but it's going to get more technical than I normally do. A transfer seat is a chair that is also sometimes called an aisle chair. That is a wheelchair that will fit down the narrow aircraft aisles. Obviously, a normal wheelchair will not do that. So what happens normally, you're in a wheelchair, they get you down to the door to the plane, you transfer out of your chair into this aisle chair or this transfer chair. They then wheel that chair onto the plane, down the aisle to your seat, and you transfer over again. Now the problem is, if you are someone who cannot walk at all, and it's a 6-7 hour flight, you're probably going to need that chair again if you ever need to get up for the toilet. And surprisingly, very few airlines are able to tell you when you book your ticket if the plane will actually have a transfer chair on board, or if they'll be using the airport's chair to get you onto the plane and then not have one. I don't understand why they can't tell you that. I personally can't understand why every plane doesn't have one. That should be just part of the standard equipment. But if they don't have one, they should be able to tell you that they don't have one. Now, we have found one airline that can always tell you that they will always have an aisle chair, and that is American Airlines. We also have found that although they don't always have one, they can always tell you if they do or not. That's British Airways. They get slated, they get talked down about, They're not necessarily people's favorite, but guess what? They can answer the question. You call Virgin, they tell you that they'll be able to let you know on the day when you're boarding. What fucking good is that? Sorry for swearing, but really, what fucking good is that? That does not help when you're trying to book a trip and they can't tell you until you get there whether or not there's a chair or not. It's just really poor. And Virgin aren't the only ones. Nearly every airline that we've spoken to, that's the answer. They can tell you at the gate, on the day. So that's the biggest trouble that we have when booking flights. So if you are traveling in a wheelchair and you need to make sure that aisle chair is there, AA and BA, they're the only ones that can tell you for sure. Price-wise, they're usually not too bad. I'm going to be honest, whenever I bring myself into the equation, we actually prefer to fly AA whenever possible. Why? Their seats are a lot wider than Virgin's or whoever else's. I use Virgin as a counterpoint often because you hear people talk about booking with Virgin a lot. And I mean, we have flown Virgin. That's how I know their seats aren't as wide. Full disclosure, we've flown Virgin, American Airlines, British Airways. We've flown Lufthansa, or however you pronounce it. We've flown within the States using Southwest, using Continental, using Delta. Most of these more than once. Not always direct to Orlando, but for different flights from the UK to the US. So we've used all of these. And I can safely say that the best service for a wheelchair user and the best comfort for a big person is American Airlines. Now, also, full disclosure, because of the fact that my wife needs more room because she's in a wheelchair, because of the fact that I need more room because I'm a big guy, we normally do tend to fly first class whenever possible. So a lot of these airlines, I'm actually comparing their first class or their business class or their upper class cabin. And in that category, yes, AA wins hands down. Whenever possible, that's who we fly with. That's who we're flying with this trip. There you are. I know it's not a great deal about Disney, but like I said, you have to get there. And if you're looking for who to book with, and you're in either of our situations, that's who I would recommend. Now, that is not to say that you can't get there with any of the others. Virgin planes look amazing. They've got the bar, they've got really nice kind of flashy interiors. Problem is, if they don't have an aisle chair, my wife can't get to the bar. She can't really see much of the interior other than what's right in her seat. And it's kind of wasted on us. That's the unfortunate thing. All of their best bits become useless because you can't access them. Also, I will say, of the carriers that we've used, the first class seats in Virgin were the narrowest. They were not comfortable. The seats on Continental and Delta were more comfortable than the seats on Virgin for someone of my size. The other thing to point out is that the lay-down beds in Virgin, you have to actually get out of your seat for them to make it up. Whereas on AA and BA, you press a button and your seat converts with you in it. Again, what this means is my wife can't even use the lay-down bed because she can't transfer out of the seat for them to make it up. So she can't even use that amenity. So all of the best bits of Virgin become useless for someone in a wheelchair. Why are we paying all that money to not get those services? I don't mean to be bashing Virgin, but I'm having to be honest here. I don't understand it. Now, if you're able-bodied and thin and yeah, maybe it will work for you. I can see that. It's nice, it's lovely, it's great, it's shiny, woo. But they just don't seem to be worried about our portion of the customer base. So there we are. Apologies if I got a bit ranty today. Wasn't the intention. I'll be back on Something Happy at Disney next Friday. Like, subscribe. I'll be back. I'll see you later. Have a great weekend.